Greetings, this is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I have drifted into the underworld. The Star Wars underworld. I have a bad feeling about this.
Here we go. We must go to the lower levels. The underworld.
You've taken your first step into a larger world.
You're after something.
Ben.
Since I've started the underworld, I've met so many great friends.
Chris.
I grew up in the 1990s, and mall packaging is nostalgic for me.
Dominic.
What I love most about Star Wars is that it's fun and it's all-round good times.
So, this is where the fun begins.
May the Force be with us.
This thing really moves!
Woo! I like this!
I can't believe you came all this way to see me.
Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the Star Wars Underworld podcast, your weekly or twice weekly. I guess only twice weekly, one last time, and then we're back to weekly again. So twice weekly. Enjoy it while it lasted. Source for all the latest breaking Star Wars news, rumors, and discussion. And this week, we are back to talk about the Bad Batch Season 2 finale, episodes 15 and 16, The Summit and Plan 99. And yeah, that happened. Hope everybody's taken some time to process their emotions. And we're going to talk about all of the things that happened, those that we lost, those that got captured, those that were reunited, and those that had their true identities revealed. So much to get into. It's going to be a great show. First, though, introductions are in order. In case you're new to the show or you've forgotten who we are, that can happen. My name is Dominic Jones, and with me, as always, good friend and co-host, Chris Seekell.
In lieu of flowers, send Oreos. Thank you.
What would be the right kind of Oreo? What would be the tech kind of Oreo that you'd say? I feel like that would just be a classic.
That's
like straightforward.
You
can't muck about.
Down the middle. Yeah.
They sell those anymore. Everything has some type of gimmick to it.
Well, yeah, because like Wrecker is the the super
double stuffed
one. Yeah. Omega is like the chocolate ones.
She's the mini ones, the minis, the Oreo minis.
Yeah.
Hunter is the chocolate ones, and
Crosshair is the pistachio.
Crosshair's pistachio, and Echo is the vanilla ones with the like white wafer.
Yes.
And the cream in the middle. There we go. We've answered the big questions.
There we go. Thank you for tuning in today.
Yeah, that's the show. We'll see everybody next week.
Next
celebrations
season.
Coming up. Yeah, it's gonna be great. No. Got a lot more to discuss than just what kind of Oreo is the Bad Batch. Boy, Ben is really missing out by not being here for the opening of this show.
He had to go get the Oreos.
Yeah, he would love it.
Sometimes takes some time.
And also with us, as always, from the Raeside, it's Hannah Raeside.
G'day there, great to be here. I surprisingly have quite a positive review about these episodes to change it up for the finale.
Yes,
right. I was waiting for it.
I was going to say, if you didn't have a positive reaction to these episodes, I'd be worried there was something wrong with you. Like,
right?
I said this last night when we were doing the Mandalorian breakdown, but I genuinely think these two episodes, the last one in particular, Plan 99. Like, that's in the pantheon of great Star Wars animated moments. I put it up there with Ahsoka leaving the Jedi Order and just the Siege of Mandalore as a whole. Like, it's that good. And if you told me coming into this season that the finale to season 2 of the Bad Batch would enter like that level of peak Star Wars, I never would have believed you. And it's just incredible. Like it's really these episodes, and we'll go through them in depth, but man, so many things happened and they're so well done. But yeah, so glad to hear you're back on the right side, Raeside.
Yes, for now.
Yeah, who knows? It could be another
18
months until the season 3 premiere, and you'll be right back to don't really like it. It's not really my thing. The show's really kind of lost me.
That's so
do.
Yeah. As if I just end every sentence with
Yeah,
didgeridoo.
Ding,
Oh, I love
dingo
it.
ate my omega.
Spoilers.
Yeah, spoiler for season 3.
Yeah,
I mean,
I mean,
that's great.
if John Favreau was writing season 3, he'd be like, first thing we got to do, creature attack, dingo's gonna
Where's
eat
the
omega.
creature?
Yeah,
Space
massive,
dingoes. Where's
yeah,
that in Star Wars?
massive version.
Oh.
Yeah, Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy, will hopefully join us shortly. In progress, he is, I don't know, changing the lids on all the barbecue sauce containers, or I don't know, whatever he does, whatever he does day to day.
It takes a lot to perfect the barbecue Oreo. Like, it's not an exact science.
Yeah, he's been working day and night.
He's in a lab somewhere pouring something from a beaker into a Bunsen
That's
burner.
what they're doing on Mount Tantus. That's what they're actually doing.
Yeah, he's got all these clones that have been decommissioned that he's using as
Just working on it.
What does this taste like? What does this taste like?
I mean, that's what all those clones at the end are. That's why they're all tied to tables, is because they're being held down. To
tasting.
Yeah, the new...
Ben is actually Omega's brother.
Yes. What a twist!
There we go.
What a twist! I mean, we do have that art of Ben as Omega, and it
works.
It was kind of prescient in a way that Omega would have a sibling, another sibling. We'll get into all that and so much more. First, though, a couple of reminders. As always, punch the old subscribe button or the new subscribe button if you're a first-time viewer to never miss an episode. Also, subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify if you want to just listen to the audio version of the show. If you're listening live and you want to support us financially, you can super chat with us, and you can also become a channel member on YouTube and join our strange clone battalion. And then between shows, make sure you're joining the Star Wars Underworld Network Discord server. I got all the words in the right order that time, and you can continue the conversation and join in on things like game nights. And Ben's going to do Fortnite dances. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. So join up there. All right. Let's get into it. Let's talk about these episodes. We're, of course, talking about Season 2, Episode 15, The Summit, written by Matt Michnovitz and directed by Nate Villanueva, and Season 2, Episode 16, Plan 99, written by Jennifer Corbett and directed by Stuart Lee. I mean, I think we just have to go around the table, give some initial impressions of the episode. And Hannah, since Ben is not here, we're going to throw it to you first. What did you think of the finale?
Yeah, absolutely. So... yeah, finale that it was. Very emotive, of course. Tech's death was one that it was, as much as I think a lot of us predicted, there was a lot of talk, someone's going to die this season. A lot of people predicted it was going to be Tech. And even, in the counting down to it, I was like, I feel like Tech's going to die, but it was still so shocking. It was still so... I was just speechless when that scene unfolded. Just really amazing music, really amazing shots and pace of it, and dialogue. Everything was just a very poetic, perfect Star Wars character death. So that was a fantastic scene, and I was really moved. I was really speechless was the word I used to describe for it. I was like, funny enough, I did a live stream watching it along on my channel, and like I was for about 10 longer than that, like an hour, like the worst host ever, because I was literally speechless. I didn't even have any like comment to make. I was just in shock, because it was just such a moving just sequence of events. It was just crazy. And then even the way that I found it interesting how we got that whole death scene, and that was like 6 minutes into the episode. And I was like, where else are we going to go right now? What else are we going to talk about? So even, the sequence of events that happened after that was really interesting. And I think it really does point the direction for season three, even though it's not announced, should be happening, because they're really like, this is what's going to be happening here. As a finale overall, it had drama, had suspense, it had something sad and moving happen, and it was a pretty good finale. I do have a couple criticisms, but I'll leave it that for later, because overall it was like, that's a great finale. Right.
Yeah, it's crazy how it happens. the death scene, you're right, it happens so early in the episode, and you almost feel like the rest of the episode should like ease you out of it. Like there should be like a denouement, if you will. But instead you get like a little break, and then they just ratchet it back up. And I just remember feeling all through the scenes when Hemlock shows up in Sid's parlor. All from that point until the end of the episode, I was so tense and so on edge watching the episode. And that was when that was even more so than Tech's death, when I realized, oh, this is we're witnessing greatness here. This is good, amazing Star Wars. Chris, over to you. Your initial impressions of the 2-part finale.
Yeah, I mean, I think this show has built up an incredible amount of momentum over the last several weeks. Like, I've really enjoyed all of the episodes, and I feel like the pacing and the character development has been really, really on point recently, and it just culminated in these episodes that essentially is one episode that has credits in the middle of it for the first episode, but like it was one kind of full story.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
But no, it was really great. And I agree, it was extremely suspenseful, and I think that there was a lot of fun surprises, like the one on the video.
Oh, that was amazing timing. That was amazing timing.
There was a lot of fun surprises throughout the episode. Like, all of the different cameos were really cool. Like seeing Saw and seeing Krennic and stuff like that. Like that was pretty awesome.
Yep.
And yeah, just that moment when they're on the tram thingamajiggy monorail.
The ski lift
Monorail.
of death.
The ski lift
Yeah.
of death.
That's what this
Accurate.
finale should have been called.
Yeah.
Final Destination ski lift. Yeah, when they were on that, like, it was so interesting because I wasn't really expecting anyone to die of major importance, because this show, we haven't really had that yet. So there wasn't really there wasn't like a precedent set for that, because all of the main characters from season 1 from that first episode are still with us. So at this point I was like, well, it probably would have happened by now if they were going to kill one of them off. And so I was not thinking that. But the second that thing started like hanging, I was like, okay, like my brain actually cannot manufacture a god out of the machine to save them here. Like something like this is an actual untenable situation. And I could kind of tell that because they went from kind of their like cavalier swashbuckling adventure music to their like serious dramatic music. And I'm like, oh, I could kind of get that sense that something was gonna happen right when that happened. And I'm like, oh my gosh, somebody might die. And then you see like Tech dangling, and I'm like, wow, I'm worried about this. This show has actually made me worry for the first time that somebody might die. Wow, this is amazing that they've been able to do that. And then they, didn't make it into a fake out, which is nice because Star Wars does that a lot.
Yeah.
So that was something else, and they did a good job with the emotional response to it, and having it be 2 episodes. I think was very important to not rush that, because if all this was done in one, wouldn't have been that time to have that. So I think that was a good way. I think it was a correct amount of time to have a story like that with that amount of emotional weight to it. And then just leading up to the betrayal with Sid, and like the animation, the expression on Sid's face was incredible.
Yeah.
And then finally the big kind of reveals and cliffhanger at the end was just a great way to end a season, to make you want to watch the second season or the third season and like be super excited for it. So extremely well executed finale. This has all the elements that you would need in a finale that is not the series finale, but a season finale. So I loved it.
Yeah, I'd given up on predicting Star Wars animated characters would die in finales, because that's never been their MO. Even going back to Clone Wars, usually if there's a death, it doesn't happen in the last episode. And I remember back in the Rebels days, doing a preview for the back half of season 4 with Kieran. And we did this like 90-minute discussion, and afterwards we got a comment from one of our listeners that said, so this episode was basically Dominic and Kieran predict characters are going to die for 90 minutes. And there were, to be fair, in the back half of the season 4 of Rebels, there were some character deaths, but I sort of always tried to shy away from that. So as the stuff with Tech was playing out, like you, Chris, I was looking at it going, there's a way out. There's got to be a way out. I can't see it right now, but there's a way out. And there wasn't. Also joining us on this episode, speaking of surprise welcome cameos, it's the founder of the Star Wars Underworld, Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
Why, hello there. Sorry I'm late, but yeah, good to be here. Glad I didn't miss anything.
Did you perfect the recipe for the barbecue Oreo that you've been working on?
Look, that's classified. Okay. We're not supposed to be talking about that out in the open. How dare you?
Okay. All right. Well, Ben, give us your initial impressions of the summit and Plan 99.
How do I actually describe my reaction? Because it's a doozy, and these episodes really took me off guard because listening to you guys talk, I'm like, what were my expectations for this episode? And I genuinely thought, oh, they're gonna go sneak into Mount Tantus. They're gonna get Crosshair back. We're gonna get an epic scene with the Bad Batch getting back together one more time, and then it's gonna be happy ending. Yay! Everyone's happy. No one dies. But obviously the first episode I think was great, and really thrilling and some really wonderful surprises, but was obviously darker, and they were in a really bad place to end it with. And then going in the second episode, it just kept throwing me for a loop, because as soon as the thing happened, as soon as Tech goes out on the thing, I'm like, oh God. I'm like, I know where this is going. Oh my God. And I'm just, the whole scene, you're just thinking like, oh, please don't let this actually be the thing. And then by the time it happens, your things, but then it keeps going and you're just like, oh, they're out of it. Is this where it's going to end? And I'm pulling up the thing and I'm like, oh, there's 20 minutes left. And then, oh, Sid is acting sus. Oh my God, what's going to happen now? Mm-hmm. That Plan 99 is the episode that keeps on giving in regards to just heartbreaks and gut punches. And I mean, these are, I said on social media, and I'll say it again, The Mandalorian and The Bad Batch peaked for me, at the same time, because these were absolutely the best episodes of the series thus far. And the episodes that not only just visually and music and everything, acting and writing, everything. And look, I've been very honest on this show about my somewhat misgivings at times of The Bad Batch, especially season 2. And overall, I've enjoyed it, but I have had some questions, let's just say, at times. But these 2 episodes really kind of pushed me over the edge in regards to it feels like all of that was worth it. All of that, especially in regards to just the character development of the Tech, and watching Tech fall to his death, as heartbreaking as it was. A million thoughts go through my head. One of them is he's not dead. There's no body, so he's definitely not dead. So things, and then I go back and think about it a little bit more, and I'm like, I actually am okay with this, because for one, Star Wars characters need to stop coming back from the dead. That's a whole nother story. Yeah. But also, his whole season has been his season.
Except Gorian Shard, he can come back from the dead.
Yeah, exactly. He's not dead. Everybody knows he's not dead.
He's welcome to come back. Yeah.
But this has been Tech's season. There's been so many episodes. One of my favorite episodes, back with the Sandstorm episode. I can't remember the name of it. That development between him and Omega, and then even the most recent episode with him having to deal with showing Omega how to drive, and being a very nervous dad.
Yeah,
it's all that, and it all led up to this, and I think it was beautiful. As heartbreaking as it was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Did you say Sandstorm episode?
There was I don't know.
What was the Sandstorm episode?
Is the one that gets stuck in the cave and they got to get the explosive stuff? I don't remember.
Yeah, sorry.
I think there was a sandstorm or something. I don't remember.
There was something. There was a
the episode is called I think it's called The Crossing. I think it's the episode you're talking about.
All right.
I think that's the one.
The Ipsium one.
Yeah, Ipsium. Yeah, so I've sort of said a lot of my thoughts already, just sort of commenting on what you guys have said. So I'm just going to add two things before we dive into the episodes. One, I think these episodes, I was thinking about it. I was like, is this the Empire Strikes Back of the Bad Batch? And I came to the realization, no, it's not.
Ooh.
It's the Last Jedi of the Bad Batch. Because this is the episode where the Bad Batch, who have been getting by on simple tricks and nonsense and harebrained schemes and just throwing everything against the wall and hoping something sticks, finally they ran out of luck. Because you look at all of their goals in this episode, it's set up for a heist, it's set up for an adventure, it's set up for a rescue. They don't accomplish any of it. And it's really dark and it's really tragic. And now, where it does go a little bit more Empire than Last Jedi is that it ends on a pretty hopeless note. Whereas Last Jedi gives you a little bit more of the uplifting, we have everything we need right here. Whereas this ends with like a declarative statement of Hunter of like, this can't be the end. Huge episode in that way. And the other thing I want to say is, because I want to head this criticism off at the pass, because I know one of you, could be any of you, but one of you is going to say something to the effect of, I loved this episode, but I wish this season had been more like this, and it hadn't have gone this way, and we hadn't had all those other episodes. I wish we hadn't done that. And I'm here to say that this episode works because we've gone through this season. This has been a season about finding hope in a hopeless time. And the thing about a hopeless time is it's hopeless. And you can find your little pockets and you can try and run from the darkness and you can try and hide from it, but you can't run forever. And so much of this season was spent looking at the galaxy through kind of an optimistic lens of like, yeah, there are still places where we can hang out and do fun things. Yeah, there are good people out there fighting for good things. Maybe it's not going to be so bad. And in the end, in the long term, that's true. But we're a long way away from Rogue One. We're a long way away from A New Hope. We're even longer away from Return of the Jedi. And so this episode is the reality check for the Bad Batch, for Hunter, for Wrecker, for Omega, for Echo, for the survivors, that they don't really have a choice anymore. They can't run from the darkness. The only way they can fight the darkness is to turn on the light. And they have to be that light and they have to fight back. And so this episode is that turning point for them. And it happens because they've been running from their destiny for this entire season. And all those side quests, all those little adventures that you are free to like or dislike all you want, all of that was building to this moment where it all caught up with them and all of their simple tricks and nonsense stopped working. And they were faced with the reality, the overwhelming impossibility that is the Empire. And so now the question for season 3 is, what do they do next? And there's a new dedication in Hunter's eyes in the last line, and there's a new fire that's been lit under his ass. And I cannot wait to see where all of this goes in season 3. And I can't wait for them to announce it in just over a week's time at Star Wars Celebration London, because that's got to be where they do it. If they don't do it, what are we even doing there?
They're going to be a riot if they don't. Jeez.
But that's my feeling on the episode. I'm sure we'll hear a whole variety of responses and how this season is played
rebuttal.
I figured out how to say exactly the opposite. I don't know if I believe it, but I figured out how to articulate it.
Well, do you want to say it, or Hannah? Do you want to take? Do you want
to? Okay, so two
Chris
things quick. One, I still think that there were a couple episodes that we could have just not watched, and it wouldn't have affected the finale. Like, I feel like if we didn't watch the Indiana Jones episode, it wouldn't have affected how this finale hit, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that it affected.
Well, this is what I'm saying though, is those episodes aren't. We're not talking about plot here.
I know you're
we're not talking
tone.
about plot points. Yeah, we're talking about tone.
Yeah,
we're talking about themes, and we're talking about story.
I
like the larger picture.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
And that's what I'm saying here. That's what I was saying here. You're free to like or dislike those episodes.
Yeah, I understand from a tonal point of view.
They serve a purpose.
From a tonal
all
point
of them together as an entirety serves a purpose.
Yeah. From a tonal point of view, yes, but the entire season is not just on the tone track. Like, there's other things happening other than just the tonality of it. I mean, like, from a tonal point of view, Cats is one of the best movies ever made. But from a plot and character development and dialogue point of view, it is the worst movie ever made. But if you just pay attention to the feelings and shut your brain off, it feels good what's happening. It feels good that the cats are like in a balloon at the end and everybody's singing.
Wait, did you actually watch that movie?
Spoilers, I haven't seen it.
Yes, I just spoiled Cats, a musical that has been out for 30 years to the entire internet.
No, I can't watch it and enjoy it.
That is based on a book that's been out for like a century. Yes. So anyway, tonality, I agree with you completely. I want more than just tonality. Like, I want some level of character and plot.
Yeah, but the tone serves the character and the plot. Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Except for two. There's two episodes where I feel like it doesn't. Where it's the Pabu episode and the Indiana Jones episode, where no matter how hard I looked for, even if I didn't like the story, Chris is he's just yeeting out of there.
He's just pieced out. He's like, I'm done.
Like, no matter how hard I would go, okay, even if I don't like this episode as a story, let me put that aside and get the meaning of what can we understand more about these characters. Those two episodes, I didn't learn a single thing about the characters. To me.
Okay. We're not here to relitigate those episodes. We've gone over it.
Okay, so the other thing.
You did have a
agree to
point,
disagree.
Yeah.
But this is the other part of it. And this is why I disagree with Hannah about the Pablo episode, because then this fits into what I'm about to say, which is I'm going to take an inverse view that you're viewing, Dominic, because Dominic, you're doing the normal Star Wars hero's journey view, which is this concept of, people are refusing the call, and then this tragedy happens, and then they pick it up, and all that stuff, and you can look at it that way.
It's the very foundation of storytelling.
Yes, it is. Whereas I'm going to say it's the inverse in this situation, and the way that I tracked it was the inverse.
Okay.
Where what I saw was a situation where the Bad Batch kept doing dangerous things to survive when they didn't need to. They weren't doing dangerous things to fight the Empire. They were doing dangerous things to survive. That was their motivation. Fighting the Empire, that's more Rex's thing. Echo was the only one who really agreed with that. But the rest of the Bad Batch, they just want to survive. And so, but when they go to Pabu, they're actually given the opportunity of, this is how you can survive in a way that isn't dangerous. And they don't take it up. And one of the prime examples of this is in this episode, because you have that conversation between Wanda Sykes, I forget her character's name.
Fee.
What?
Fee.
Feet.
Feet, like feet, like no, not
like
feet.
Like service charge.
Phee.
Yeah. Like a service charge fee.
So Fee Sykes has this conversation with Brown Eyes, aka Tech, and is like basically like, you so dumb, you don't see that I'm in love with you, and all that. Like that was what that conversation was.
Yeah. No,
Like,
I was more thrown by the interpretation of the dialogue.
I have no idea why. I'm just like, that's the way that I see that conversation going in a caricatured way for some reason. Anyway, you're really dumb. You don't see that I'm in love with you. And that was what was going on. And so, and he's doesn't even acknowledge it. Like, he's oblivious to the end. And so basically, like, the call that they're refusing is the call to community, to peace, and to sanctuary from the war in an area where Omega can safely grow up as a kid and not a kid forced to be a warrior. Like, that's the call that they're refusing. And what they do is, this is kind of like a subversion of that, because it shows that sometimes when you refuse the call, there's consequences that you actually can't come back from, that are serious. So what happened is, they went off on another mission chasing this idea of answering Crosshair's distress and unraveling this mystery that's going on about that. And as a result of that, they leave safety voluntarily, and then one of them dies. And one of the reasons why I feel like they were setting it up in this way that is inverse to how you describe Dominic is because it wasn't Hunter's reaction immediately after Tech died to say, I'm going to go fight the Empire in the name of Tech now. They killed Tech. I got a fire under my butt. Like, that wasn't his reaction. His reaction was, I'm done. I'm done screwing around. We're just going to go back to Pabu, and we're just going to live like normal people and none of this stuff anymore. I've had it. That was
I just want to say, I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah. So,
I think we agree.
Okay.
I don't think we're arguing on this. I think we're in complete agreement on
I
this.
will
That's
argue.
good.
I think we're saying the same thing, just slightly different ways.
Well, that's possible. They might integrate. So anyway, so that's what he said. And then it was the betrayal with Sid, and then Omega getting captured, that's what then causes them to still get roped into this conflict. And now Hunter, his motivation is rescuing Omega. It's not fighting the Empire. That's what his motivation is. So they still haven't gotten to like the Finn point where they're like ready to join the cause. They're not at the Andor point where they're ready to join the cause. Like, they haven't gotten to that point yet. Not all of them. They're still working for each other. And so the way I see this is a tragedy where they had an opportunity to do something that would have worked. They screwed up, made a mistake, caused someone to die and someone else to be captured. And now they got to go and fix that and get redemption for that bad choice. That's the way that I'm
seeing it. Like, I'm seeing it like the same way. Like, I'm not like, we're not in disagreement about this at all. Yeah, that's what I was saying, is that this whole season was them basically going around to different Pabus, on different adventures that were, kind of separate from this threat that is the Empire. It's not necessarily sanctuaries of like where they can be like at peace and live a life, but they're sort of living the kind of adventurer swashbuckler life that one could live in pre-imperial times, with the exception of a couple of episodes here and there. That's sort of the version of, they're not necessarily in safety, but they're not necessarily pushing their boundaries. And then their luck runs out, because they were pretty lucky through this whole season. They worked together as a crew. They got by, as I said, simple tricks and nonsense. And then at a certain point, that runs out. Now they have to, and you're right, it isn't until that final betrayal, this final, the place that has been their safe space, their safe harbor through all of this, that was Sid's parlor. And yeah, they've been on bad terms with Sid, but from going back to like the second episode of the show, Sid's parlor has been the place that you could go back to, and you don't really have to worry about things going too wrong there.
Yeah.
And now once that's gone, that now that final betrayal has happened, and now it's like now we have to fix what we can.
And the thing is with this is that this whole season, Hunter himself has come to the conclusion that he does not want to fight another war. He does not want to throw in with Rex and throw in with Echo and go and fight a rebellion. He wants to basically, I mean, and that's illustrated by the Kashyyyk episode and some very explicit things that he says in regards to, you know, just the idea of like Omega doesn't get to have a childhood. She's just this kid who's been surviving all this time. And so going forward with that, you have Crosshair doing what he does and getting captured and being tortured. He's still part of them. Whether he's with them or not, he's still a part of them. And the fact is that they're really, as much as they think that they can just go off to Pabu and have a nice life, they will never find peace while the Empire is around, because it'll always be a looming threat. And also, if as terrible as it was, if what had happened in this episode had not happened, Crosshair would still be on Mount Tantus being tortured and potentially would have died, and in place of Tech. And that would have affected them, obviously, a lot. And so I think actually, as bad as it is, actually ends in a pretty good place, because now Crosshair is going to get some relief. And I think Omega has had a lot of character development in being able to handle herself. And I think ultimately what she does is basically sacrificing herself for her brothers in the end, which I think is very good for her. But I think the whole point of this season is just like, hey, can you juggle this? Can we just be normal people? What are we? We used to be soldiers. Now what are we? And I think they've learned, and what they'll probably learn next season even further, is that they really can't run from this.
Well, and that they, you know, it's kind of a similar drum that Star Wars Rebels beat, which is, you know, it's their family, it's their squad. You know, they haven't been looking out for Crosshair. And this goes back to the season 1 finale where Crosshair was like, you guys never came back for me. You left me behind. You say we never leave a man behind. Well, you left me behind. And, you know, I think Tech's death, you know, that it sort of underscores the fragility of the squad. And you now have an opportunity not just to rescue Omega, but to rescue Crosshair. And not that Crosshair being brought back, you know, makes up for Tech's death. One can't replace the other, but they can right a wrong. And this, again, this tragedy might be what inspires them to right that wrong that's been going on since the first episode of the series.
My issue with everything we've brought up.
Mm-hmm. Bring it on, Hannah. Let it all out. Let it all out.
I've got like multiple points. My issue is that, like, I can rationalize, like, in this conversation, I agree with you, Dom, of what you're saying.
Thank you.
All right,
story. That'll do it for this week. We'll all be back next week. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, like, in a conversation, I agree. But I don't, it's like, that's because I've fabricated that in my head. I don't think that is represented on screen as best as it could be represented on screen. This storyline of, like, they had to go and try all these different places to find home and where they fit. They are misfits trying to find where they belong. And this story of they're not soldiers anymore. Who are they? This journey of discovery that each of them go on. I do think that was the plot line and the concept, the through concept through the whole season 2. But that's where my issue lies, because I'm like, intellectually, I'm like, that's the purpose. But then visually to the episodes, I just don't think they like push that notion enough. I don't think like apart from okay, when we talk about the finale specifically, I really actually struggled with the other parts of this finale that wasn't Tech's death. And maybe probably the ending on Ord Mantell was pretty cool. But the rest of the episode, I was like, oh, this is just the episode. They're just like going here. They're just trying. Like I didn't find, like I felt like that could have been more pronounced of a storyline. I don't know what I'm trying. I'm just kind of tailing off now. But
no, I honestly, I know exactly how you feel, because those are all the points that I made about the Mandalorian season 3, episode 4. I know
episode 4?
The pterodactyl episode.
True.
One before, because like I know what they were trying to do, and I heard Chris come on this show and lay it out very eloquently, and I understand that that's what the point of the storyline was, but I didn't see it. I didn't, and I didn't like it. I really hate that episode, with the exception of the Coruscant flashback. Like the Coruscant flashback is lovely, but the rest of that episode, to me, I feel about that episode the way you guys feel about the Indiana Jones episode of Bad Batch. I'm like, burn it with fire, never show it to me again. Like I really don't like it. So I fully appreciate where you're coming from and your POV on this, because I think we've all been there, right? Where we've we know what the point is. It just didn't land.
Yeah. Like it's like me with the whole of Andor. I'm like, I get you're trying to be a drama about this character like point of view, but none of this is relevant. Anyway.
Shall we relitigate Andor next?
Yes, let's do it.
Well, maybe we should get into some of the specifics of this episode, because we've been talking about this like on the macro series long arc. And maybe we should actually talk about like the specifics of what goes down in the episode. The episode begins with them going to Iriadu, which was just cool to begin with, because that's Tarkin's home planet. I remember reading the Tarkin novel back in the day and how most of it is set there. So it was really cool to have that kind of storyline playing out and revisiting that to an extent. And we find out that, the summit isn't the top of Mount Tantus as we thought it might be, but it's a meeting at the top of a different mountain. So, balance it out.
That confused me. At first time I watched the episode, I thought it was Mount Tantus, and I watched it again. I'm like, no, it's not.
But we have this meeting that includes Dr. Hemlock, Grand Moff Tarkin, Orson Krennic, and 2 other dudes. And it seems to be like this is the meeting of the minds of the Empire. These are like the top level discussions of the most important conversations, of the most important projects to the Empire and the Emperor. Ben, let's throw this to you. What did you think of this summit, this meeting of the Imperial minds?
Just to reenact my reaction to this scene specifically, I'm like watching the scene going like, who's around the table? Who's that? Is that Krennic? That can't be Krennic. That is Krennic! Oh my god! And that was me watching it, because I'm like, there's no way they did. Oh yes, they did. So yeah, that was great. I think that's something that's really interesting. That's just the fact that we're getting these bigwigs in the Empire kind of getting together, and Tarkin kind of being in his element and being on his home planet, which is something that I've read about, I've learned about for years and years and years, but to see it in real life is just great. And I love that we're getting, this Tarkin compound, whatever. This is his home base. I don't know. Is this his house? Is this his vacation home? What is this? I don't know. It's pretty cool. And just, I don't know. I think the more Tarkin, the better. And getting some, and it also kind of brings it on home to kind of, what's at stake? Like that the Empire is building power, and you have this summit where these really really bad people are coming to do some evil things and plan their next big evil plans. So I think it was great to kind of set it with this. It could have been anything. It could have been Rampart again, Rampart's, he's not actually in a jail, he's back, or whatever else.
Somehow Vice Admiral Rampart returned.
Yeah, I just love that Hemlock is easily the creepiest dude at the table. Which
is saying something at that table.
And Tarkin, Tarkin's always been real creepy, but then I have a feeling as soon as Hemlock leaves the room, he's like, guys, I'm sorry about him. I'm sorry I invited him.
Oh yes.
Yeah. It's quite the sequence. And I don't know, I don't know really what to make of what Hemlock actually says in this scene about his project. I feel like he says a lot without really saying anything. But you do get the sense that whatever's going on in the Imperial Senate, this is the real power broker. These are the real power brokers of the galaxy. Yeah, the senators, they pass their bills, they make their laws, they argue with each other. But at the end of the day, it's Tarkin and these 4 other guys that are making the real calls, making the real decisions that impact the Empire and their choices on a day-to-day basis. But yeah,
here's my issue with Hemlock.
Go ahead. Let's hear it.
My issue with him is that we didn't get him earlier. Why wasn't he? This is how I would probably change some things, is that I would have introduced him in the Chuchi episodes. I would have introduced him there. That whole conversation we're talking about decommissioning clones, what happens to clones. That's a fantastic segue to be Hemlock, out from the shadows, comes into a Senate pod and goes, I have an idea. And, something like that, that's where that introduction should have been. Because that was, I think my issue for me is this finale, he was the villain, but it's we've barely known the guy. So it wasn't that, yes, this was an epic scene and he was had great presence, but he's still so new. You know what I mean? So I don't know. We didn't have a villain for the back end of this whole season. And it was, I think, Hemlock really, but he was in 2.5 episodes.
Yeah, it was sort of like Vice Admiral Rampart was kind of the villain for the first half. It was sort of it was.
And we never got a mention of him again. That also actually annoyed me. We never got a mention of him again. So it's like you've suddenly the original trilogy, and then suddenly halfway through Empire Strikes Back, we just never mention Emperor Palpatine again. Just never talk about him again. Just wasn't he the big bad? That was the issue with everything.
Yeah, I'm not going to complain about that. Screw Rampart.
Right, but
F that guy.
To me, I really enjoyed his characterization in the first section of this season. Really great scenes of him in his office, and the tone and the shadowiness and the music and everything about how he was presented and personified was fantastic. And then he's never mentioned again.
Yeah.
That's annoying to me.
I see where you're coming from, and it may have been worthwhile to introduce Hemlock earlier because it's kind of, when you look at the season, it's sort of a competition between those two guys, between Rampart and Hemlock, for who can be worse to the clones. And you have Rampart who's just get them out of here. Who cares? Get these guys out of here. I'm building up my Imperial Navy of recruits. And Hemlock's no, keep them around. Let's study them and try experiments on them. And, perhaps a conversation between the two of them, or the two of them working together, might have tied that element of the season together. Because it is a little bit we have 6 episodes or 8 episodes of Rampart and then 8 episodes of Hemlock. And, the advantage that Rampart had was we'd already had a season of him already. So,
but that's my issue with the Hemlock thing, is it wasn't that handover, and then it wasn't 8 episodes of Hemlock. It was we met him in the Zillow one, and then we talk about him a couple episodes later.
We get a couple of scenes of him just sort of being creepy and menacing, but it could have, maybe they could have weaved him in a little bit.
But
more.
I do like that though. I like that they would, because I'm biased here. I thought good old. He was just boring. So I'm glad they got rid of him.
Ben can't even remember his name.
Yeah, I literally can't remember the guy's name. Rampart, that's his name. Yeah, he's so boring. I can't even remember his dang name. I was glad to see him go, but I also and they didn't wait till a finale. I appreciate when shows like this are willing to do something major kind of in the middle of the season, shake things up a bit, have the Bad Batch have a win. They're working towards, they know Rampart is kind of starts out the season as the one guy who seemingly knows what's going on, is kind of on their side, trying to protect them, but is also doing stuff that would ultimately hurt them. And I like that they get a win against him. They defeat him, but he's not the final boss. He's just a cog in the wheel. And this other guy that we didn't even know about, who is more dangerous, who is working outside, he's so extreme that the Empire is trying to keep him secret. That's how bad he is. So I like that. And I think obviously with this season, we didn't see a whole lot of Hemlock, but they're setting him up for future seasons. I think we're definitely going to see a lot more of him. He's obviously going to be the main antagonist of season 3.
Yeah. I wonder if, we don't know what the future of the Bad Batch is, honestly, beyond this season. But we're assuming that there's a third season just because of the way everything's played out. And I feel like we'd have heard if there wasn't. But I kind of wonder if he's the big bad for the series from here on out. I can see Bad Batch ending after season 3. It's, sort of a trilogy of seasons. And he could fulfill the role of, the final boss for them to overcome or succumb to. But I don't know. We'll see where that takes us. But yeah, he does. You are right. The most we get of him is in these 2 episodes, but he makes an entrance though. He makes an impact. He takes them down. He does what Rampart never could. And he captures the Bad Batch and he puts them in their place, or he puts them in the place he wants to put them in. And he accomplishes his goals, which is more than can be said for a lot of Star Wars villains who show up for a week, say, I will do the thing, and then are never to be heard.
It's like Team Rocket.
Yeah.
It's like they try every episode. We blasted off again.
Yeah.
We'll try next episode.
But yeah, and I do think through the first episode of this, through the summit, it is a lot of the Bad Batch sneaking through hallways. It's a lot of them, just sort of outwitting and outclassing the Imperial troopers. The scene where Omega is hiding behind the trolley as the guy is pushing it, hysterical. Hysterical.
That had Leia hiding under Obi-Wan's coat energy. Because I'm like, how in the hell is this guy not seeing her? I'm sorry. It's only 3 boxes high. You would definitely know.
She's not very tall. she can hide behind it. I also like Leia hiding in Obi-Wan's coat. So what do I know? What do I know? But the twist that comes is this summit is not just being infiltrated by the Bad Batch. They're not the only insurgents trying to do something here. Also on the scene, Saw Gerrera and his partisans. Hannah, I can just see a look on your face that you have some feelings about this and stuff you want to say.
I've got a food metaphor for this one. We're making a sandwich of sorts. And we've got our ham, we've got our cheese, we've got our lettuce, we've got tomato.
Sounds good.
And we're like, this is all going step by step. Let's go. What's next? Skittles. You're going to put one in a sandwich? Skittles. Put the Skittles in a sandwich. Don't you like Skittles? I like Skittles, but why on a sandwich? Well, they just got to go together. Are they both edible?
Ben's like, I would take a Skittles sandwich, please.
Taste the rainbow.
Well, if you
accent.
If you
got no, that was like an amalgamation of all accents together.
But look, if you got what you thought was just a regular submarine sandwich, with your ham and your cheese and your lettuce and your tomato and your mayo and all that stuff, and you took a bite out of it, and you saw Skittles in the middle, your reaction would probably be lies, deceptions.
Deception.
Wait, so is Saw Gerrera the Skittles?
Yes.
Because
Okay.
Skittles are really good and Saw is not.
Right.
Well, I mean,
he's an interesting character. You never know what you're gonna get.
And,
really,
and I would,
flavor of Saw you're gonna get.
Exactly. Skittles are kind of an interesting candy in the same way. Yeah.
I'm Saw Gerrera, and I'm the new spokesman for Skittles and Subway.
Why?
Chris, I think you've had too much cold medication. I think you need to
I tried it.
Take a step
Didn't
back.
come out as well as I was hoping.
An attempt was made.
But I thought maybe because I'm sick, it'll work.
It'll work.
Maybe sick me sounds like Saw Gerrera with 1/10 of a lung. Maybe.
1/10 of a lung.
No.
Yeah, actually, you
still have
need one of
more
his
lung capacity.
ventilators on his chest, don't you? You need one of those. That'll help you out.
I think I need.
But
need a mask
anyway,
for that.
my overarching point. Saw's an interesting character. I've enjoyed when we've had him on screen, but when we saw him, I had the literal reaction of, "Ow!" Like, come on! Like we were like, I don't know. It was just a flavor that we did not need in this scene. It was so brief. It was so brief, and like for Tech's death to happen because of Saw popping up for 28 seconds of a finale was just annoying to me. I don't know. Kind of annoyed.
Did you come here to bring me Skittles?
Oof. If that
That was-
lived a few more years.
Yeah. I mean, I think Ben got the closest of all of us. I will say.
That sounded like Mando era Saw if he had lived. That
Yes.
right.
Yes.
A little bit more advanced.
Rob Gower says in the chat, taste the rainbow,
Taste the rainbow.
taste the dream.
That's great.
Okay, he went.
wow.
Rob wins.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's good. That's it.
yeah. The Saw Gerrera cameo, I will say, like, that's sort of the kind of cameo I'm kind of with you on this one, Hannah. I think that's the sort of cameo where you're like, okay, did we need that? But it does fit in with Saw's like overarching thing, which is that he can't really be relied on. He can't really be trusted by to work as a group. He's out for number one, and he's like, we have to kill them. Like, we can. There's more going on here. We can uncover more. Killing these 4 Imperials, they'll just be replaced. You won't actually make that much of a difference. He's like, nah, I'm in my head. I gotta take this in my head. This makes perfect sense. So we have to kill them. And he's so cavalier in his actions that, it does wind up getting good potential rebel agents like Tech killed. So it is a little bit, the way it plays out in the episode, I agree, is a little bit like jarring and sudden and like, okay, you're here, sure, why not? But it does fit in, I think, with what we know of who Saw is and who he becomes.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at it, because like Saw is weaving in and out of all of these different things. So like we saw him in Andor, we've seen him in Rebels, obviously Genesis from Clone Wars, and then his last act in Rogue One. So it doesn't surprise me at all that he's around. Like I didn't think that was odd. I think they needed a device to use the wrench in the wheel, or the stick in the wheel, or the wrench in the machine, or the Skittle in the sandwich. I don't know. One of those things.
Metaphor? What are you talking about?
That's a bunch of metaphors.
I was trying to remember.
I do have a question. Did when it was like, there's someone under the stormtrooper outfit, did anyone have like a guess in their head of who it could be?
I didn't. No, I
really,
it
no.
happened so fast that like when he pops the helmet off, I'm like,
I was just like,
sure.
what?
Oh, I thought it was I thought it was other clones. Like I thought it was like Hauser or like somebody like that.
I thought it could have been Trace and Rafa. I don't know why, like what purpose that would serve, but I was like, he's going to be Trace and Rafa again, right?
Yeah, when are Trace and Rafa going to come back to the show? Because we've been hanging out in their garage an awful lot lately, and they're not around.
They're on vacation or something. What's going on there?
Oh man.
I actually really liked this cameo. I think mostly because it just completely shocked the hell out of me. Like I didn't see it coming at all. It was the second time of the night. I'm just like, whoa, okay. You know, it was after Zeb, I was just like amped, and I was like, oh, another familiar face. Oh my god. But like I like the parallels of like, yeah, it does come out of nowhere, but this is not the first time we've seen Saw on this show. I like the parallels going back to the first episode of the show, which is him kind of giving them a break and giving them some wisdom. Not great wisdom because it's Saw Gerrera, but you know, it's kind of catching up with them. And yeah, of course, Saw is doing this and just further illustrates that Saw is not really a hero. He is not a good guy.
He's a loose cannon.
You know, he's a loose cannon. Just the fact that he just wants to destroy. He just wants vengeance. And that's it. And yeah, I will hate him forever because of what he did in this episode. Because he is the reason that everything goes off the rails, quite literally.
How long have you been sitting on that one, Ben?
Wow, only about 2 seconds. It literally. I'm just like, you know how you say something like, "Oh wow, that's a pun." Okay, yeah, I'm not gonna go with that one.
Oh man, yeah,
that's great.
But of course, all of this leads up to the moment at the beginning of Plan 99, Tech's death. We've talked about it again kind of in the larger context of the season and the series. But the moment itself and the build up to it, this may be an over the top comparison, but I can only compare it to, spoiler alert, Ned Stark's death on Game of Thrones, because it's played in a way where you think there is a way out. You're trying to figure it out. You're trying to figure out what the crazy way this character is going to survive is. Somebody's going to come out of nowhere and rocket them to safety. Someone's going to step in and stop the inevitable from happening. And the longer the scene goes on, the more you're grasping for what that could be. Just like Tex grasping for something to hold on to. And the more you come to realize there's nothing. Nobody can save you. Nobody's coming to save him in this moment. And I think when Tech makes that realization, and when he says to Wrecker, Plan 99, he says the episode title, and you realize what all of this has been building to. And the way the music cuts out, and the way Wrecker then lets out his sort of primal scream, and Omega sort of charges and has to be held back. It was just like, as a moment, regardless of anything else in this episode of this season, it's a moment I can't think of how that could be any more perfect.
That the reference was absolutely amazing, because obviously anybody who's seen the Clone Wars knows what 99 did. So I think it was really cool to have that dialogue there for the moment, because that then adds that even extra layer for people who have seen the Clone Wars, which I'm assuming most of the people who are watching the show have seen that. So they know when they hear that, oh, somebody's planning to do something like that. I thought that was really cool.
And I'm jumping off of what you're saying, Dominic. I liked the fact that it felt inescapable. It felt like the more all the components of the scene are very well executed. And it didn't feel like, oh, they could have done this thing and they could have done that thing and they could have fixed it, or they were in this situation because of some contrivances. I'll make an example of something that's really bad. This is like, Kevin Costner dying in Man of Steel. It's just like there was 1,000 different ways that could have gone. Superman could have saved him.
Right. I missed the part where you said I'm gonna do I'm gonna make a comparison that's the opposite, and so I was like, what are you talking about? You could have saved him so many ways, but that's the point you're making. So continue.
Yeah, we agree. Okay, we agree.
We agree.
This whole episode is us trying to pick fights with each other and then realizing we actually agree. It's just
except Hannah. Except Hannah.
Except me. I'm just here to fight. I'm just here to fight. Really,
fight me. Come at me, bro.
I've got no other.
But this scene builds on okay, it's inescapable. There's no way out of it, and also, it's not just him dying, it's him dying to save his family and making it worth it and making it an actual, true, meaningful sacrifice. Because, it's, I've liked how Star Wars has done this. And sometimes, I loved Andor's look at this. That sometimes people just die for no reason at all. People just die in the line of fire and whatever. And that's tragic. But I think
that guy trying to get up on the lift that goes up to the top level of the prison in Endor. He's climbing up
that poor guy.
Shop. Anyway,
I think there's 8 of those guys.
See, I did get meaning out of Endor. See, I did get the point. Sorry,
but no, it's fine. I'm rambling here. All I have to say is, I think Tech had a wonderful ending. I mean, as bad as that is to say, as bad as heartbreaking as it is to say, I think, and I like I said, I would love for him to come back, but also don't bring him back. Seriously, this was, for one, we've played the somehow they return card a little too much, especially lately in Star Wars. And also, it would just ruin a very powerful moment. And I think Tech went out on his own terms. Let the guy rest.
Yeah. I kept thinking the stinger at the end of the episode would be Omega showing up to Mount Tantus, and there, tied up next to Crosshair, would be Tech. And thankfully, they didn't go that way. Hannah, anything you want to add about the moment, the actual... I don't want to say the word. I was going to say the word execution, but that feels wrong. The way the death, Tech's death played out.
Yeah, I think we hit all the right notes of just it was one of the best built in that scene, the best built death scene. Similar to found it very similar to, again, spoiler, Kanan's death. Just you kind of didn't. In hindsight, you maybe could have seen it coming, but as watching it, you're like, "Oh, this is intense. Are they going to get away? Oh my god! Oh, they are escaping. Oh my god, they're almost escaped." And then it was that, a final thing, and that a character sacrificing themselves so then the others can escape. Kanan did the same thing. So that is always a moving thing, and sacrifice is a big notion in Star Wars. So I feel like they really hit the nail on the head. I did actually, as much as I'm like, Tech needs to stay dead for the purpose of his character and what he stood for, I do agree with that. But when we did get the scene at the end of the episode or near the end, where they're on Ord Mantell in Sid's parlor and Hemlock throws Hunter Tech's goggles, I was so certain that was in the scene because Hunter was looking at the goggles. And then later on would say to the others, they weren't Tech's goggles. That wasn't his. He must be alive. Because Hunter's Knows all the senses and is just a detailed person like that. He's those aren't his smell. I don't know. Hunter would know.
Tech's got a very distinct smell.
Smell.
Hunter
These don't smell right.
Exactly, right?
This isn't Tech's cologne.
Yeah.
Tech's cologne.
Oh man, what would Tech's cologne smell like? Probably
deodorant. How do they put deodorant on underneath the suit? Anyway,
what I want to know is why when they're injured do they always put the bandages on top of the armor? Because I see this in Star Wars all the time, especially the animated stuff. There's always bandages on top of their armor.
Look, the armor is part of who they are. It's part of them now. Yeah.
Oh man.
One of those quirks of the way they make the show, I guess. But we go from Tech's death to the crashing of the cable car. That really terrific POV sequence from Omega, where she's kind of coming in and out of consciousness, and you get kind of flashes of the Bad Batch escaping. I feel like this was a really effective way to do that part of the story, because you need to show the Bad Batch escaping. But after the sort of high emotion of Tech's death, another sort of battle scene with proto stormtroopers just doesn't carry the same weight. So to just kind of show us basically a montage of the escape, and to do the kind of cliched person phasing in and out of consciousness way to do your cuts. I thought it worked really well. Yeah. But I thought it worked really, really well in the episode. And then they get back to Sid's parlor. I did love the moment where Sid offers Wrecker a drink, and he's like, "It wouldn't help." I was like, "All right, little bit of messaging there. Okay, all right, Star Wars, not a bad message. Go with that." But of course, all of it is building to the reveal that I think we all saw coming. Sid was going to sell them out. Sid was going to betray them. I'll throw this out for whoever wants to take it. What did we think of the way that reveal was handled?
Oh, I thought that it was good. What was interesting to me was just, like I said earlier, how sad Sid looked. I'm like, why are you looking so sad if you made this decision? Like, did you feel sad before making the decision? Like, that was kind of confusing to me. Why? I mean, I liked seeing that emotion, but also it was kind of confusing why that emotion existed. And then again, just for the Bad Batch, like, I feel like they just have made some mistakes, and one of their biggest mistakes was trusting Sid. I don't think they ever should have done that. Sid has shown multiple times that she's not trustworthy. So bad mistake.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Is there a redemption for Sid in the cards? Is that something could see happening, or are we done with this character?
She can undo what she's done. No one died. So if she helps them find Omega and then maybe help with something else, they could come out better off than they would have if she had done nothing.
Fair. I mean, she did, she did meet Hemlock, so that that is a connection, a potential lead back to the Empire, back to Tantus, but we'll see where that leads.
I think it's their way of writing the character out of the show.
You think they're done?
It's like, yeah, because at this point, there's really they're kind of beyond where they were at, taking gigs up from Sid. So I think this is a way for them to both explain why the characters can't go back to that, and then also just to neatly get rid of her without her just disappearing.
I hope that's the case. If it's not, if she does come back, I hope they do something drastic with her, because I don't want another season of her, humming around about, oh, I'm changed, whatever. No, you haven't changed, Sid.
They have an encounter with her, and right before she dies, she's like, "I'm a believer," and then you find out that she submitted to Hemlock's program.
What a twist! Wow. What a twist! She bites on one of those electric cyanide pills. Yeah. Wow. The whole sequence through the streets of Ord Mantell, with Omega, with her bow, with AZ, and then Echo in the walker. Again, I got nothing to say about it other than it was incredible. Other than I thought it was just amazing.
Yeah. Why wasn't the finale here? Like, we have spent most of season one, and
go ahead. Just finish your thought. Your thought.
Yeah. And then, parts of the season on Ord Mantell as well.
Uh-huh.
Like, why wasn't the whole, I get the whole, actually, why did they go to the mountain again?
Because they were going to try and track.
No, but why were they at Eriadu?
They were going to track Hemlock back to Tantus, yeah.
Whatever. But I don't know. I felt like the finale would have been cooler if most of it, like, what if they went? Yeah, the whole thing was on Ord Mantell. Like Hemlock came to them for some reason or something. I don't know. Because I felt like
he would have, because he was trying to track Omega down.
Exactly. So maybe they should. I feel like they should have done it there because that would have had more like story meaning. We would have been like, oh, Ord Mantell. Like, I don't know. A little bit of it was like, why are we like on this random cable car? Like, I spent a fair amount of seconds of this dramatic ass death scene of Tech that I should be weeping at, going, what's this planet again? Why are we here? Why was Saw just then?
Here's the thing: is the cable car named Desire, like. It was very necessary to set up the death sequence and
continue.
Yeah, it was very necessary.
So you just all of that was to get a Tennessee Williams reference in.
Yes.
That was all y'all. That was everything for a streetcar named Desire.
But you can't have Tech die in Ord Mantell because like he knows in and out he's not gonna put himself in a situation that is gonna be dangerous. He has to be in an unfamiliar situation.
Yeah,
I just didn't like where we were. I just was so confused. I was like, why are we here?
I loved the cable car of Doom. I thought that was great. I thought that whole sequence was terrific and
the planet
high
was
octane
great.
and
I don't
stuff,
like the way I don't like the animation of Ord Mantell. Like it's not a funly animated planet, whereas
dark and neon. I like dark and neon. Dark and neon.
Yeah, I like Ariada way
well,
better.
too bad. We're not going to see it
both.
the next season.
No, I like Ariada way better. Like I thought that there were a couple shots in there that looked like live action shots. It was like so well animated. Like it was great.
Actually, I definitely when they were walking in the forest, there was one particular shot where they panned from the trees or up to the trees or down.
Yes.
You know the one? And I was like, shit, this is like that is of a forest. That is like someone filming a forest. Like,
they just snuck a Northern California forest in
That'd
there,
be
just went
so
outside
fun.
and filmed it. We're like, we'll see if they notice.
Well, it's like that Lion King movie that Jon Favreau made. There's like one actual live action shot in the whole movie. It's like the sun setting or the sun rising, and the rest of it is all the photoreal CG. They should just
the animals are photoreal CG. That's a new one.
Yeah, they should just flip that for that batch. Yeah, so we get that whole sequence through the streets of Ord Mantell, culminating with Omega being captured and Hunter, Wrecker, and Echo escaping by the skin of their teeth. Omega brought to Mount Tantus, and we get the final reveal of the finale. Emery Carr, the character I think we've all resisted comparing to Omega at various points because we didn't want to be like, well, there's two women from New Zealand. They must be the same person. Turns out
that's
to be
exactly what they wanted us to think.
Exactly.
We didn't want to be New Zealandist.
Yes. But we get the reveal that Emery Carr is in fact Omega's sister, and I love I like the little tell that they had there that she had. Everybody else says Omega except Omega. She says her name with the E, and Emery Carr is the one that the only other character that said it that same way. What do we think? Take it away. Whoever wants to jump on this first.
I thought that's where they were going with this. I haven't really processed this character much. For some reason, the other few times that she's like shown up, I've kind of been like distracted by other things in the episodes and haven't really thought much about her character beyond just like moving the plot forward. But like I kind of knew like, okay, that she has some connection to the Kaminoans and most likely is a clone. Like I was kind of assuming that.
Okay.
Which like I don't see why that's a big deal, because like what's the difference between her and like the Believer clones?
Oh yeah, no, I just all I was saying is like it's the fan thing to do to be like, oh, there's two New Zealand people from New Zealand, they must be connected.
Well, what I mean that in universe, not out of universe. I apologize. I don't mean what's the big deal that you're making out of it. I mean, what's the big deal that the show's making out of it? Like, why is this big reveal that like she's a clone? Because like we know they're evil clones. Mm-hmm. So like, well, I don't know. It doesn't make full sense to me.
It's I mean, it's a reveal. It's a teaser for next season, right? It's meant to leave you with more questions than there are answers.
Yeah, the big thing that is curious about it is that we still haven't solved the puzzle of Omega's mutation, because right now we still only assume that her gender is the only mutation, because we had all this talk, especially back in season 1, about what it was.
There's a moment in this episode. She knows which shuttle's Hemlock's. She just kind of intuitively knows it.
There's a theory, yes, but it's not official.
No. Well, and see, this is all I'm saying is maybe this is again pointing us in. This is again laying groundwork for season 3 to explore these ideas. And I've been on and off the Omega's force sensitive train. I'm kind of back on it.
I think it's a whiff. I think this is the only problem I have with the finale. I think that everything else is perfect, and I don't hate it, but
I think everything is perfect, and I don't hate it. What
I mean
what
to
is
say
that sentence?
it's not as much of a detractor for me to say that it wasn't artfully done, but it was if I could pick one thing that I didn't like about it, the one thing I didn't like about it is the whole concept of the fact that they need Omega to convince Nala Se to work for them. That blew me. That I could not believe that, because I've been thinking this entire time that Omega has some type of gene sequence thing, like something necessary about her genetic structure that they need to do experiments on, kind of similar to like Grogu and why they need Grogu and Mandalorian. And that's why they've been after her, to find out after all this time that it's a psychological game that they're playing.
Do we know
just
that?
Totally, like,
do we know that? Do we know that for sure though?
That's the way they came off in this episode, is that the reason, because he said, like, he kept saying she's the key, and then he basically said she's the key to getting her to do what we need her to do at the end.
I don't know.
So
I wouldn't go that far.
Nala Se has like a soft spot for her, and now that they have her,
I don't think they've
possession.
I don't think they've closed the door on anything relating to that there being something more to Omega biologically than
but
like I don't think they've closed that.
They took the biggest reason there could have been and put something else in its place.
Yeah, but that again, all I'm saying is that we don't know what this is still an unanswered question, and we don't know what that is yet.
Yeah, I think
they could have answered it so easily. They could have just said, we have her, we can now sequence her genes, and she could be the key to making this project go forward. But instead, they said, we need her to convince the doctor to start working again, which is dumb.
Is that what they said, though?
It's a missed up. That's the way that I read it.
Like, it was like a threat. It was like, if you don't do the work, Nala Se, Omega will get the consequences.
Yeah. That's what it was. They're holding Omega.
That was like
hostage.
the last line of Hemlock.
Yeah, they're holding Omega hostage.
Yeah, she's
to get
only
Nala
a
Se.
bargaining chip at this point.
Yeah, to keep working. Yeah,
she could still be both.
I think
correct. But you could have just done that. You could have just done that and skipped the whole other part.
Right, but they're missing out. But they're saving another reveal, because we started the show with Omega special, and now we have to capture her. The Empire wants her. The Kaminoans want her. And they kind of dropped that because for whatever reason, in season 1, and now we're kind of back to, they really don't want her. They just need her to, to motivate Nala Se. I think as her being there, I think the ultimate threat will be, because there's no, like, if they just want her, then they can just, she can just be there, and she's not in really any danger until they figure out they actually need her for something else.
Maybe they think it's just an emotional thing for Nala Se, but there's actually still something to her. I still think I don't know. I'm not ruling it out. I'm not closing that door.
Omega is force sensitive team. I'm on that team.
I'm back.
I think she has
train.
Force sensibilities, and they didn't know. Like they didn't figure it out, and then she like has it a little bit, and they actually figured out how to clone midichlorians, but they were like didn't realize, and then that's why she escaped. And they're like, shit, did it actually work? We need her back to like check if that worked.
That would give so much whiplash in writing if they did that. It would be so confusing.
I agree that like this whole back to the main point we're talking about like Omega's sister thing, like very underwhelming of like that's the cliffhanger. Very underwhelming. Like I really thought I was like, oh, that could have just been a line in like a random episode. Like that was not cliffhanger worthy for a season finale for me.
Yeah. Like the cliffhanger, I view the cliffhanger as she's been captured and now we got to figure out what's going to happen to her. Like that's the cliffhanger.
That's the cliffhanger. This is just sort of an added wrinkle to it. I think it's
But what is Emery Card though? Is she? I mean, obviously she's a clone, but she's older than Omega. How does that work? You know, does she have growth acceleration? Was she somehow created before Omega? How does this all work? And is she even a clone of Django?
These are all excellent questions.
Well, she has to be if she's her sister.
For season 3 to explore and answer.
But we could have had these same questions at the end of season 1. I think that's also my issue. Like, I really don't feel that much more like, all these stories happened and all this information is here now. I don't feel like I know much more about the Bad Batch since season 2. I really don't. From season 1 finale, like
you know,
they're
one of
still
them
mysterious.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
I do. Here's where I will agree with you. The sort of the final shots of Tantus, as we were sort of leaving that, I was like, oh, this is a very similar beat to the season 1 finale.
I was
and
we
it's
still don't
almost, and it is almost like they went back to that same trick without changing it enough. And I'll give you that's a storyline that maybe could have been moved along a little bit more.
I think it has. I think we learned a lot about what was going on, because when we first saw Tantus, we were thinking like, is this related to Grogu? Is this related to Snoke? Is this related to the Zillo Beast? We find out Zillo Beast might be part of it.
I was gonna say there looked to be some Snokes in a jar in the background.
We were really asking questions about how that would fit.
In some blue Gatorade.
Yeah, into the plot. And really what this season answered was that, they're trying to have this mind control technology. They're trying to take their, they weren't able to clone. They were able to manipulate their genes for full compliance. The Kaminoans didn't take it far enough because they had to put the chip in order to get that full compliance for serious stuff.
I think that's a bit of a cover story for what's really going on Tantus, because Hemlock keeps going on about how the Emperor wants this. This is a project that's very important to the Emperor. Much as I hate to say it, that screams Exegol to me. Just screams.
This might have the beginnings of Exegol in it, but the reason why I don't think that's the main thing is from the fact that we're watching a story and not real life. Like in real life, yes. But here's the problem. If the main plot of this is Exegol, that means that the story is a tragedy. We're going to watch them all die, and they're not going to accomplish anything, because we know that they're not the ones that do the Rogue One thing. And we know that it's probably a little bit too much to have them piggyback on that. So they have to have something to accomplish. And I feel like having the plot device of they're really close to coming up with this cloning technology to, manipulate and clone people who are completely subservient to orders and don't need an inhibitor chip and can just act literally like organic droids. And so that the whole army of stormtroopers was organic droids and not people like Finn who could defect. That would be a massive thing. That would be almost more dangerous than the Death Star. So they're setting them up to blow up another type of Death Star thing. And that would be a huge victory for them in death or in life if they were able to accomplish that. It would make a very good ending to the Bad Batch show. I think to have it be about Exegol would then mean that it cannot have a good ending. They're just going to either die or give up because we know they can't be successful.
I like that. I like that a lot. I'm down with that. I do think though that even that, like, they do that. They destroy that. They blow it all up. Huzzah! We've won the day. We've stopped this program. Post-credit scene of the series finale. Someone taking a bit of information and going like, well, they may have stopped this thing, but this is still pretty important, and the Emperor still has great interest in that.
I don't doubt that.
So
I don't doubt that.
I think there's more.
I'm not saying it's not the start of Exegol. I just think that's not the main. The other thing has to be.
Fair.
It's not just a red herring. It's not a cover story. It is the main story of the show.
I think a good thing when these kind of stories, when we know where it's going to end up, it's just like setting up a situation where, yeah, we know it was bad. It is going to get worse in the future, but it could have been a whole lot worse if the Bad Batch hadn't come in and did this thing. But also sometimes that backfires too. And as we learned with the Stormtrooper program, the Bad Batch kind of helped the Stormtrooper program come along earlier on in the season. So, we don't know what their effects on the galaxy are going to be. Just gonna have to wait and see, I guess.
Yeah, just going back to sort of the original point that, like, I do think though that not enough was done to tie not enough has been done yet, I think, to tie this new Stormtrooper program to Exegol, because it did, like, again, like I said, I do feel like this beat at the end of this season is the same beat at the end of season 1, and it's like, oh, here's a twist about this place. Tune in next season to find out more about it. And they took their sweet time getting to that this season, for better or for worse, however you may feel about it. The reveal also reminded me, I don't know, Chris has stepped away, but he's the only one that I know might get this reference. Oh, good, you're back. How far into Orphan Black did you get?
Ooh, that's a good question. I definitely watched all of season 1. Yeah. But I can't remember how far into season 2 that I got. It gets kind of fuzzy after that.
I got to the end of season 2.
Okay,
and
I might have.
The reveal at the end of season 2 made me stop watching the show.
I think that probably happened to me too, because I know something caused me to stop.
And it was basically the same reveal, just reversed, because on that show, all the clones are Tatiana Maslany, and then you find out that this other character is also a clone. And when that happened, that season 2 had been so bad up until that point that was the thing that, like, pushed me over the edge. So when this reveal happened, I was a little bit like, ooh, stepping into that puddle, are we? Okay. Okay. I hope you do better. You've done better to keep me invested up until now. So I hope you do better to keep me invested going forward than that other show did. Anywho, that about brings us to the end of the episode. And of course, everybody knows what that means. You know that it's that time again. It's time once again for play, damn it, play. Wow. Stupid technology. Connection corner. Connections in the corner.
Oh, jeez, there we go.
Spence connection corner. Do.
How's it going, everybody?
Ben's connection corner is for the live studio audience. I'm just gonna slink at a shot because of the technology failing me there. So Ben, take it away. It's all you.
Yeah, I'm gonna bail you out of this one. I could just leave right now too. But anywho, so we got. Are you okay?
Wow, you're really slinking.
That doesn't. I think. Okay, I'm just gonna
very uncomfortable.
I'm just gonna try to ignore this and move on. Okay.
You got the pre-travel jitters, Dom.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, seriously. So we talked about Iriadu, obviously the home planet of good old Grand Moff Wilhuff Tarkin. Iriadu was first introduced in 1989, at least first mentioned in the Imperial source book from West End Games. So it's been around for a while. I don't know when it was actually established as Tarkin's own planet. But it's cool to finally see it on screen after all these years, because it's a really interesting planet. And A lot of clouds. I think they were kind of hiding a lot there in regards to the actual what the environment is. But I hope that now that the Bad Batch has been there, maybe we'll see it more in the future. I can't remember exactly when this happens, but I think it's maybe when they're going in. One of the Imperials says something along the lines of, they've got transport 3811 coming in.
Yes.
Remember that.
And obviously this is inverse. So they try to sneak in a 1138 backwards in on us. But
I thought that was going to sneak a reference past you. I was ready to be like, Ben, you get 3811.
Nothing gets past me most of the time.
That was a good catch there.
So that I caught that one. I think pretty much everyone caught that one. So let's just talk it up with that. I felt if I didn't mention it, people would be like, no.
I was waiting.
So we got we talked about it earlier, but the point of view shot for Omega felt a lot like the point of view shot we got for Hunter. Ironically, after Omega is taken by Cad Bane back in season 1. Pretty cool and just visually stunning, and I agree, just fits the tone of the scene and everything like that. And I think that's about it, other than the walkers that we see on Omega, I believe are new, but they reminded me a lot of you don't actually get a good look at them in Solo, but in Solo there's these all-terrain defense turrets, which is basically just an AT-AT without a top on it, it's just like a walking gun platform. It kind of reminded me of that, but just with an actual top on it. But just cool to see some kind of proto AT-STs in there. But yeah, that's literally all I've got.
Amazing. Perfect.
Wait, this guy Saw Gerrera, who's in some other Star Wars stuff.
I do have. I'm missing the biggest one because I didn't put it in my notes. I had it somewhere else on the way. Okay, so not that we didn't notice this, but I figured we'd go into detail on this. We that good old conference room scene. We obviously got good old Wilhoff Tarkin reprised as good old Stephen Stanton. We've got Barton Coburn, who we previously saw in the Clone Wars. I think a couple episodes of Clone Wars shows up there. We got Hurst Ramodi, who is a character that first appeared in A New Hope. Then they recast him with a new actor in Rogue One that happened to look exactly like the actor that played him in A New Hope 40 years prior. And now he's back, and I think they're all played by the original actors.
Nice.
Because I think Ramodi was also played by Deep Bradley Baker back in Clone Wars. So there you go. I like that Ramodi has hair now. He has like a just a nice, he's losing it on top, but he's got a nice thing back there. So
let me tell Ramodi from experience, just cut it all off. You'll be happier.
He obviously
all off.
Seeing him in
He's
Rogue
holding
One
on. He's holding on.
He loses it by then.
You're not fooling anybody, pal. Just cut it right off.
But I also would like that we get a good old Commander Orson Krennic.
Yeah.
Who is not gray haired. He's still got some. He's got all his hair, and it's a different color. And and apparently voiced by Ben Mendelsohn. But I mean,
that was amazing.
I think it's just. I think if I had to guess, probably just some leftover lines from Rogue One. I don't think they got Ben. They're like, hey, Ben Mendelsohn, we got a new role, Star Wars role. Yeah, you get to come back. You got 2 lines.
2 lines, and it's all words you've said before in Star Wars that we could easily composite together to create a new line.
It's like
he was like, "I'm in."
They fly him in. You know,
he showed up.
18-hour flight from Australia just to say yes, Governor Tarkin.
He shows up like he did at Celebration London 2016 in full Krennic costume, flanked by Death Troopers. He walks in, and Dave Filoni's like, "Here's your script," and he looks at it and he goes, "1 line." 1 line, and then he stormed. He said it perfectly, and he stormed out with a flare of his cape.
It only makes sense if season 3 has more of a minute and he's recording more lines. That's the only reason I could imagine it would be new.
It would be good. Although that moment there where he says, let's talk about Project Stardust.
Yes.
I mean, that's the scene that's really just designed for Ben's Connection Corner and nothing else. Just as a nice little nod for everybody that's in the know.
Yeah, Filoni's looking out for me. He really.
Yeah. Oh, and it sort of weaves everything through as a through line through all of this between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope content, that the Death Star is coming, whether it's specifically relevant to this story or not. Just the fact that it's being discussed at this critical meeting. If you're sort of piecing it all together, you're getting little bits and bobs of it. So. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, Ben. Thank you for humoring us once again for an entire season. Another, I guess that would probably be 14 editions, 14 in-depth, insightful, classic editions of Ben's Connection Corner. Connections in the corner with Ben. It's Ben's Connection Corner. Do.
How's it going, everybody?
Ben's Connection Corner is filmed in front of a live studio audience. I have to make sure that you guys have that ready for the next 2 weeks when I'm sort of half here and half not there, so that you can continue to make sure Ben lives up to his reputation as the man in the corner with the.
I like
connection.
that this has just turned into a threat. It's just turned into like
Yeah.
you better do it.
Yeah, you better do it, otherwise you might wind up getting teched. You know what I mean? Anyway.
What?
I'm gonna take you up in the cable car and push you out the door, eh? All right. Very specific threats. And after I just made a point of not offending people from New Zealand, I've now offended everyone from Italy. So it balances out. Okay, that's
Italy.
Or
that was Italy. That was Italian.
That was
New York?
Yeah. It's like an American Italian.
American Italian.
Yeah. So okay, I think that's enough. I think it's time to begin to wrap things up and go around the table, give some final thoughts and scores out of 10. And Ben, we just let you out of the corner, but we're gonna put you back on the hot seat. Give us your final thoughts and score out of 10 for the summit and Plan 99.
I expect so much of me in the show. They don't give me a break or anything. Anyway, so I like I said, despite all the negative Nancy's around here, I really like these episodes, and I still think this is the best episodes of the entire series, and I'm giving it a 10 out of 10.
See if I care, Ben.
10 out of 10 from Ben. Hannah, the rebuttal. Your final thoughts and score out of 10.
For these episodes
For these episodes, yeah.
Okay, all right. These episodes I enjoyed more than most of the season. There are quite a fair few things I could nitpick at. I don't like Skittles on my sandwich, evidently. So I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10, which is on the higher end for me of this season.
7 out of 10 from Hannah. Chris, over to you. Final thoughts, score out of 10 for the finale.
Why did Ben think that I was negative? I just, there's one thing that I didn't like, and I said it didn't affect my rating of the episode. But anyway, these episodes were great. I watched them twice. Absolutely amazing. Great ending to the season. Like I said, model way to end a season. Hint. So 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10 from Chris. Yeah, I'm regretting my rule of not going over 10 out of 10 for this season, because it really does feel that way. Like I said off the top, it's in the pantheon. It's up there with the greats of Star Wars animation, and I want to give it like a 15 out of 10. At least, certainly Plan 99. I want to give Plan 99 that kind of score. The Summit maybe is more of like an 8 or a 9. It's a solid, enjoyable, good episode. Whereas, so I'll do some more of my fractions math that Chris loves. I'll give The Summit an 8 out of 10, which will turn into a 4 out of 5, and I'll give Plan 99 a 12 out of 10, which will turn into a 6 out of 5, and we'll add it all together and we'll get a 10 out of 10.
No, that's a 5 out of 5. That is a 5 out of 5.
I hate math.
I will actually, I want to change. I will probably give the summit an 8 out of 10. To be honest, that was a 7.
You give this.
Wait, does that mean the other one is a 6 out of 10?
Wait, Plan 99 is 8 out of 10.
Okay.
And the summit was 7 out of 10. Yeah.
So shall we split the difference and say 7.5?
Yes. Okay. Sure.
Okay.
You're still allowed to add 2.5 to Hannah's score, so that you can get yours over a 10.
From.
Oh, fantastic. Got a couple of scores from the chat. Tony Peterson gives the finale a 9 out of 10 and the season as a whole an 8.75. Kenny Crawley Jr. gives the 2-part season 2 finale of the Bad Batch a 9 out of 10. Chosen Nightwolf gives it a 10 out of 10, says both episodes were excellent. Tim Ford gives says the finale was the best episode of the Bad Batch to date and gives it a 9.5 out of 10. And Matthew Hardy gives it a 9.99 out of 10.
Well played.
Well played. And that is where we're going to leave things and begin. Maybe not. Hannah's got more to say.
Yeah. Right. Did you have like the results from all the season though?
We'll do that. We'll do that in a little bit because I got to do all the calculations. We'll do that.
Give the man time to do some math.
Yeah, I gotta enter the equations into my spreadsheet and just push up my glasses
do it on
my
the
nose a
plane.
little bit. And we'll when I get back.
I'm so excited for that one. Oh.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. But
I think we're gonna find out that I liked it the best.
I don't think I gave this. I think I've given more than half the episodes 10s out of 10.
No,
we're gonna find out.
Like
I like
4 out
it
of 10.
best.
I didn't go that low.
No. That was the Mandalorian.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah, Bad Batch. I think my lowest score was a 7. So
okay.
I think it's gonna.
That was like my highest score.
I gave a lot of 10 out of 10s.
Yeah, we'll see. It'll be a competition. It'll be a competition for who liked this season more. But I think with that, we'll begin to wrap things up for this week. Thank you everybody for listening. We hope you've enjoyed having 2 shows a week for the last 5 weeks. Yeah, 5 weeks of 2 shows a week. If this is something you're into, let us know, and maybe we can do this again, and maybe it becomes a more regular thing. Especially if they're gonna have 2 shows on at the same time. There's so much Star Wars out there these days that we can't possibly cover it all in one show a week. Even when there's only one Star Wars thing happening at a time. So we'll see. We'll have to see how this goes in the future. But for now, we'll be shifting back to the once a week schedule starting next week, next Thursday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. I won't be here for the majority of the show because I'll be in London, and that starts at 2:30 a.m. London time. So I don't think I'll be staying up, but I'll find a way to be there. And make sure you're subscribed to your feeds throughout Celebration London, because my plan is to just blow that up with content. So be on the lookout for that. Stay subscribed. Make sure you don't miss any of that. Ben, thank you for being on as always.
Oh, it was a pleasure as always, and I'm gonna miss Bad Batch. I really am. It's been a fun ride. It's had its ups, it's had its downs, but I think overall a fun season to talk about. And I think even if I can't really find enjoyment in the episode itself, I can definitely find enjoyment in the conversations that we have here. So this was This is great. Can't wait for. I'm hoping they're like next week at Celebration. They're like, hey, and season 3 is out now on Disney Plus. Go watch it. That'd be great. Please, Lucasfilm, because they've been holding off. We know they held a long time back on season 2. So like, well, season 3 is it farther along in production? Maybe they'll do season 3 and season 4. And I'm really just putting my expectations way too high now, so I need to stop and say good night.
Oh my God.
Ben says good night so that his expectations don't get out of whack.
A season a week of Bad Batch. Here we go.
Last episode every day.
Amazing. And of course, you follow Ben at Ben Hart with no E on the social medias. Hannah, thank you as always for coming on the show and sharing and being the what's the word I want to use here, the rebuttal, the alternative,
voice of reason.
Voice of reason.
The correct one.
Yes.
The incorrect one. No. Thanks as always for being on. Let people know what's coming up on the Raeside this week.
Yeah, this week we're going to be having a fun week. Again, following on with our Knights of the Old Republic playthrough. And then at the end of the week for Celebration, of course, we're going to be having 4 days in a row of the live streaming at the end of the day, wrapping up the news and good vibes that we've gotten for each day of Celebration. So that's going to be really fun, just hanging out, talking about what happens there. But yeah, no, it's been a great experience talking about Bad Batch for the past 16 weeks. It's been like, I'm in the 4th month of the year. And it's like, we started this at the start of the year. Like, that is kind of freaky. Like, it's kind of wild.
Yeah.
But it's been super fun. And even if I haven't enjoyed the episode, I sit there and I just go, what would Dom like about this episode? And that's how I've been able to enjoy the Bad Batch. But, you know, as much as I've been like super negative about everything, I am actually still super interested in season 3 and just as excited and just as hopeful for that season 3 announcement. So can't wait. Next week, season 3. Let's go.
Next week, season 3. Yeah. Real quick, do you want to give us your score out of 10 for last night's Mando episode as well, or this week's 2 days ago's Mando episode?
2 days ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would give that one a 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. Very reasonable. Chris, thank you as always for hosting. Anything you want to plug? I don't know, anything you want to say at the end of the show, or do you want to just save your voice?
No, I'm going it back into the back to take after this. Once I learn how to podcast from inside of back to take, it will save me a lot of headache.
All right. And of course, follow Chris at Seek3PO. Follow Hannah at The Raeside. And make sure you're subscribed over there as well. You can follow me at Dominic J25. I'll be posting all sorts of travel shenaniganery over the next little while because I'll be in London, seeing all the London things leading up to Star Wars Celebration. So follow me there. And of course, follow at the SWU during the convention. I'll be sending Ben all sorts of stuff to post on all the different social medias because I won't do it myself. So follow that. And of course, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure if you don't subscribe to the audio feeds, make sure you're subscribed there because that's probably where I'll post stuff first from Celebration. And subscribe to the YouTube as well so that you never miss an episode. So that's YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you enjoy your content. And why not become a channel member? You know, that'd be fun. Bad Batch is going to be gone, so there's not going to be a lot of clone content. So we might have to start making some of our own with our bizarre clone battalion that we invented for this. And as always, join the Star Wars Underworld Network Discord server. Stuff happens there, and it's fun. Discord network server place. Where Ben's gonna do Fortnite dances over there. That's all I know. That's all I've been told. So
if we get 1 million members, okay, I'll do a Fortnite dance on the roof.
Challenge.
Okay, the roof part. That's I'm gonna go.
I like that.
Yeah, I gotta quickly make some phone calls to some bot farms in various countries all around the third world, and
legally and ethically. All right, I'm risking my life because.
And if you've been watching the video and you like the shirt that Chris has been wearing, check it out. cultureslate.com/store. It's a Culture Slate Bad Batch crossover thingamajig. All right, that's it. I will see everybody in London for Star Wars Celebration.
That's the second time. It's the second time in a show you've mentioned thingamajig. That's a record.
It's a good word.
You love that word today.
I love a thingamajig. Thingamajigs are great.
Right?
Sorry,
I interrupted your massive announcement.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I was gonna say I'll see everybody in London. Make sure you come to my panel, the panel that we're doing with Chris Abbott and Adam Christopher and Ethan Sachs and all sorts of cool Star Wars authors and Star Wars people. Come to the panel. It is on Saturday at 6 p.m. on the fan stage. That's Saturday, April 8th at 6 p.m. British time on the fan stage. Come to Bounty Hunters, Smugglers, and Gangsters, the scum and villainy through the years. It's going to be a great time. All right, that's it. We're out of here. These guys will be back next Thursday. I'll be back sometime after that. We'll see y'all when we see y'all. I hate saying y'all. I don't know why I just said it twice there. But for Ben, for Hannah, for Chris, for all the other wonderful people at the Star Wars Underworld, my name is Dominic, and may the Force be with you.
Krieger. Anton Krieger.
Why would you sacrifice him?
May the Force be with y'all.
It's a Skittle.